Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So I have a lot to say, so I'm going to talk really fast. All right. And there will be a Q&A session when we're all done. So hopefully you won't have any questions because I will have answered them all in my presentation. All right. So my name's Polly Armour. I have lipedema, right? It's almost like a 12-step meeting, right? My name's Polly and I have lipedema. Okay. So I'm from New York, but not the New York most people think about. I'm from up in the Hudson Valley, and that's kind of what my neighborhood looks like. I'm 52. I figured out myself that I had lipedema in 2013. Up until then, I'd spent about 20 years struggling with a variety of physical ailments that really didn't seem to have a common cause. And then I injured my knee, and I injured my knee in such a way that I will need eventually a knee replacement, which at that age, I was in my late 40s, I was too young. So I thought I would really do the weight loss thing. I would really survive, succeed this time, because for each pound of weight on your body, it's 4 pounds of impact on your knees. So I thought, okay, I can postpone this knee replacement as long as possible if I just lose that 20 pounds that I'm just going to do it this time. And so I worked and worked and worked. I was following the eat less, exercise more paradigm, calories in, calories out, and all that stuff. And I got my net caloric intake down to 900 calories a day, and I finally lost weight at that point. I lost it in muscle mass in my upper body. I lost it in my boobs. And I probably lost it on muscle mass in my legs, but I don't really know because my legs and hips, thighs did not get any smaller, okay, no matter what I did. You could see the crevices in my collarbones, you could count my ribs, but my legs were just as big and were just as tight in the same pairs of pants as they'd been all along. And at that point, I realized that the metabolic, nutritional focus, awareness of weight loss, there was something missing from that equation, that calories in, calories out thing, at least for me. And I started to dig around in the literature. I wasn't really getting anywhere until I, by chance, overheard a couple friends talking about their lymphedema. And I thought, oh, maybe I've got lymphedema. And I went to Dr. Google, our friend, and looked up lymphedema, and through the differential diagnosis discovered that I had lipedema, and everything fit. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same situation. You have what is sometimes called a soft diagnosis, meaning you've diagnosed yourself. So I was lucky enough to find this out in 2013, and that was right before the Lipedema Sisters. Anybody on Facebook? The Lipedema Sisters USA group, really great group of women. They had a sort of spontaneous conference in Tucson, and I was able to go there and get diagnosed by the great Dr. Herbst, and she confirmed what I suspected. Yes, I did have lipedema. At that point, it was right around the shift in awareness in the United States about the validity of liposuction treatment for it. Up until that point, the lymphatic therapists and the powers that be were insisting that liposuction was butchery, it was damaging to people, and you should avoid it at all costs. But the Germans have been doing it for 20 years at that point. So Dr. Herbst felt pretty confident that I could do it and be safe. And so I traveled over to Germany with had surgery, 3 procedures with Dr. Stutz in 2014, and since then it has drastically improved my life. I was one of his first American patients, and after that I wound up helping people who came after me. He's had scores and scores of foreigners go over there since then, and that's great if your lifestyle is such that you've got the money and the time and the family support and the job flexibility or whatever to go to Germany for 6 weeks or make multiple trips of a couple weeks each, but not everyone has that. So I've since had the great honor and pleasure to work with Dr. Stutz, helping to bring him to other countries where lipedema is not so well known, like here. and do the sort of things that we're doing now. So we each one of us will get somewhere. So anyway, let me give you a brief history of lipedema awareness. When I first figured it out, I thought, why did I have to wait so long? I was really kind of angry. You know, I'd gone to my doctor, my primary care doctor, with some literature about lipedema, and he had completely dismissed it. He just told me I wasn't trying hard enough. So I started to dig around and looked into this. You know, lipedema, a lot of us know, was first described by Allen and Hines in the 40s. That was 3/4 of a century ago. And their paper, Lipedema of the Legs, a syndrome characterized by fat legs and orthostatic edema. You can find it on the internet. It describes the disease pretty well. So that was quite a while ago. Okay, that was 75 years ago. Let's go forward 60 years from that to the Merck medical manual. Anybody here in the medical field, raise your hand if you're a nurse, doctor, MD, therapist, whatever. Okay, a few people. Merck manual is like the basic textbook that any first-year medical student uses, and it sits on any doctor's desk anywhere. This is the 99 edition, and they have a section on lipedema that's in the cardiovascular disorders part of the book, and it's a reasonable thing. It's a poor copy, I apologize. It's called painful fat syndrome, a syndrome of fatty, tender legs. Women are most often affected. Patient complains of swollen and tender tissues. Examination shows most fat distribution on the hips, thighs, and legs, although the foot is spared. Fatty tissue often hangs over the ankles. The tenderness generalized not over the course of the veins. Only treatment is avoidance of further weight gain. Well, we know that there's more now. This was 20 years ago, keep in mind. An obese patient may benefit from weight loss. However, abnormal fat in the lower extremities cannot be mobilized, and weight loss occurs on the trunk, arms, and face. I mean, that's pretty accurate and pretty succinct. You know, there it is. So let's go to the next version of the Merck. This is from 2006. If you look in the index, lipedema is mentioned. It appears in the index. And when you go to where the index refers you, it refers you to a table of foot manifestations of systemic disorders. And so here's a table of differential diagnoses. Firm edema, usually pitting of the leg only. It's lipedema due to fat and fluid. And that's it. That's all there is. Okay, so now we're going to go one version more. This is the current version of the Merck Medical Manual, which is online. You can find it online. There it is. And when you search for lipedema, you get no results. So it's really no wonder that there's that much ignorance among medical professionals these days. Just to prove even more widespread how it is. The three specialties that might encounter and work on patients with lipedema are bariatric surgeons, vascular surgeons, and dermatologists. So if you go to the Obesity Medicine Association and you search for lipedema, you get nothing found. The same with the Society for Vascular Surgery. And this is my absolute favorite one, the American Academy of Dermatology. When you search for lipedema, it returns millipede and refers you to an article called Attack of the Arthropods. Which, I don't know if that's better than nothing, honestly. So in Canada, it's even worse. I went and searched all these different specialties websites, and there were no results in any of them. So there's absolutely no surprise that doctors don't know anything about it, and we'll touch on this later. Okay, so as I said, I went to Germany. I had 3 procedures with Dr. Stutz, 3 liposuctions. They completely changed my life. And not in ways that you would see. I'm not a large person, but I was amazed. I did not realize how much the lipedema was affecting me because it had spent 20 years kind of creeping up insidiously, and I did not know how much of a burden I was carrying until I was able to set it down. And I set it down very quickly. Even after my first surgery, my brother, who accompanied me to Germany, told me that afternoon as I was walking around Bad Steben, which is one of the nearby towns, that I was walking, clearly walking more easily. Okay, and I'm relatively small. If this disease affects me the way it did, it must affect larger people even more. Okay, since then, it's given me my life back. I can sleep at night without the terrible cramping in my legs. I can lie on my back. I can walk for miles. Excuse me. Even within a few days of my first surgery in Germany, I was walking for miles and miles each day, 10 or 12 miles through the Bavarian countryside. This is really a life-changing procedure. But my job right now is not to convince you to have it. I want you to go into that, if you do choose this, with your eyes open and your mind full of knowledge about it. So if you're considering liposuction, there's a lot of different techniques that are out there. Wall is one. Tumescent, which Dr. Stutz mentioned, is another one. The brand name of the gizmo is far less important than the skill and technique of the hand that holds the cannula, okay? Because one of the most important things that you will encounter, one of the most important things to consider is your level of comfort with whatever surgeon you choose. Okay, there's very few within Canada, there's more in the US, there's even more over in Europe, but the most important thing is how you feel, because this is not, as I say here, a drive-through procedure. Okay, you will have a surprisingly intimate relationship with the surgeon. Will take course over many months, because the disease itself, it takes 20 years or more to get to the point I was at. That's not something you can get over in 4 hours on a table. It basically is at least a year of recovery following that. If you are considering it, it's really important that you have reasonable expectations. Dr. Jeffrey Klein is sort of the father of tumescent liposuction. You can go to his, I think it's Liposuction 101 is his website. You can go to it and learn more than you would ever want to know about the different kinds of liposuctions. But he says that if you do consider liposuction, you should work with your surgeon, ask for predictions, not guarantees, and work to get goals. Focus on symptomatic improvement, because, as I'm sure Dr. Stutz mentioned, this is not a cosmetic procedure. This is a therapeutic one, okay? We are all different, and the average patient gets significant improvement, but each of us is not an average. We are individuals, and our mileage may vary. Liposuction can relieve pain, and it can relieve the other symptoms that are caused by the lipedema, tiredness, the heaviness, and so forth. It can improve your mobility, as he's already shown, and I can attest to that. It's made a significant improvement in my ability to do even simple tasks around the house, and it will prevent or stop the progression to later stages, the lipolipedema. It'll slow down any damage that's going on with your large joints in your legs and so forth. It's not a cosmetic procedure, although pretty much everybody gets smaller and looks better. It's not a time machine. I do feel younger, but I'm still 52. And it won't cure other problems that you have. I went over to Germany for multiple surgeries. I spent thousands of dollars, and I still need glasses. This is something else to remember. It won't cure other people. Your boss will still be the jerk he was before you had the surgery. So keep it real. All right. Also remember, most importantly, although it does affect our cosmesis, it does affect how we look. No question about that. And that's the first thing that someone else will see about someone with lipedema is a person's size. It's not a cosmetic disorder. And so a solely cosmetic approach to treating it is not appropriate. Even if you don't consider surgery, if you're just working with conservative treatment, try and avoid emotional pitfalls. If you're on Facebook or any of the other internet groups, there's too much of a focus, I think, that's my opinion, on before and after pictures of surgery, because the picture doesn't show how much pain a person is in. A picture doesn't show what they can do now that they couldn't do then. I would say, if you look at these pictures here, there's been a focus sometimes on how much fat a doctor removes from someone, and you'll see or hear patients saying, oh well, I only had Dr. So-and-so only took 2 liters off of my body, and he took, someone else went to a different doctor, they took 6 liters off of them. It's not fair, my doctor must have messed up. But, you know, Dr. Stutz took a little less than 2 liters total off of me. I do know people who have had 4 or 5 or 6 liters removed, but just look at me. If you took, I mean, you guys are Canadian, so you speak metric, right? Okay, you guys can visualize probably a liter, right? Y'all can do that? Okay, take 4 liters off of my lower legs. How do you do that? You amputate at the knee, you know? That's the only way. That's the only way. So to compare what was removed from my relatively small body is a baseless comparison to someone who's much larger. And before and after pics, there's a lot of them out there. As women, we are just barraged with, you know, magazines in the supermarket checkout. You have them here, right? Yeah. And so forth. Those pictures, they don't tell your story. Okay, so this, I just want to show you, this is sculpture. This was a picture I saw in a New York City subway. You know, these non-surgical treatment, you know, no downtime, just results. And you look at these 2 pictures and it's great, but can you even see that very small print under just results there? You see where it is there? Oh yeah. Okay, that says model used for illustrative purposes only, results may vary. So here's another one. This is for Vaser. That's the reflection I love to see in the mirror. Oh my gosh, you know, look at this beautiful woman here. Again, there's some very small print there. It says not an actual patient. Okay, so if it's not an actual patient, what is it? That woman is a model. Okay, she makes a lot of money running around in her underwear, making the rest of us feel inadequate. That's her job. Okay, so what's the alternative? I'm going to say, remember your goals, all right? And focus on your NMVs. Anybody in any of the keto groups, they talk a lot about non-scale victories, right? Things that you can do when you are in a keto way of eating rather than a diet, so the focus is on healthy eating rather than caloric restriction. And they focus, you know, okay, so I'm much less tired. I have less pain, I have less swelling. Those are non-scale victories. I say focus on the NMVs. Those are non-mirror victories, okay? So I thought I would have to give up skiing. Those are the ski lift tickets from the first winter after I had my surgery. I skied more that winter than I'd skied in the previous 10 years. Because my legs didn't hurt anymore, and because the fat was removed from the insides of my thighs, so I could just put my legs closer together, which is a much easier and funner way to ski. You know, it just works a lot better. This picture of me, that's after I climbed. Okay, so I've always liked to be outdoors and do things like hiking and backpacking and so forth, and I had not been doing very much of it for many years, because it wasn't worth the effort. It was such a job to drag my body up hills. But after my surgery, within the first year and a half, before my 50th birthday, I was able to climb all 35 peaks in the Catskill Mountains in New York State that are over 3,500 feet. You guys are bilingual, right? You understand feet? Okay. So it's a little more than 1,000 meters. There's 35 of them, and if you climb them all, and then you go back and you climb certain ones in the wintertime, you can join the 3,500 club. And so that's me on my 50th birthday, having ascended the last of the peaks that I needed, and I'm doing a headstand, believe it or not, in the snow, having just snowshoed up through 1.5 feet of fresh powder. That's my 50th birthday. I was going to get a tattoo to turn 50, but my doctor doesn't like tattoos, and I trust him. So, and this is the knee brace. I don't need to wear anymore because my gait has improved so much. I no longer need to wear that all the time unless I'm doing really stupid things like ice climbing, which you see up there. All right. Some last words. It's really easy with a disease like this to beat yourself up on a constant basis because there's, so many things that you can do for it. It takes over your life and becomes a full-time job. do the things that you find work the best, because they are the things, we are all individuals, and for some of us, dry brushing works. For others, it doesn't. So just do that, and keep checking in with family and friends, because they're going to have a better sense of your longer term improvement and progression. They'll give you some independent verification. And another thing I'm going to say is pay it forward. Support groups are incredibly helpful. It has been for me a huge privilege to work not only with Dr. Stutz and recently with Dr. Herbst, but also with his patients. I have learned more about my own journey with lipedema by helping other people with theirs than I ever would have done on my own. So, this is a perfect opportunity to network, sign up for the mailing list if there's going to be one, or get on the website, join the Facebook group and so forth, because together we are far more effective advocates than we are individually. And now I'm going to say, what's next? I'm going to ask you, what's the difference between ignorance and stupidity? Does anybody know? Ignorance can be cured, and so that's what we need to do in Canada. We need to just keep bringing awareness to this condition. The spot on TV. How many people here are here because of the spot on TV? That actually came together at, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon? So, wow, is that the universe telling us that the time is ripe for this? I'm going to say I've been involved with lipedema in New York and the United States for about 4 years now, and the leaps and bounds that lipedema awareness within the medical community that's happened is amazing. I'm flabbergasted by it. Canada, you're a little bit behind the curve on that, which means you have nowhere to go but up. And I'm going to say also, there's never been a better time to learn that you have lipedema than right now, and that's only going to get better. So I'm going to leave you with, this is a quote from Lippy Lady she's in Texas, I think. She talks about her dream doctor would be someone who at least listens and believes I'm telling the truth about my condition, doesn't constantly harp about things that are out of my control, is hungry to learn all they can to try to help, and will go to bat with insurance and so forth. And she thinks that's a tall order, but I don't think it's that tall. I think we just need to order it a lot. Hey, we need to keep ordering. Waiter! And so there's a lot of places you can get more information. Lipedema Alberta has a website with some links. These are some more. The Fat Disorders Research Society has a whole bunch of videos from their most recent conferences, the most recent one being April of this year. They had a whole bunch of great speakers there. Lipedema Project, Simone, who's sitting over there, works with the Lipedema Project, and she's compiling a worldwide directory of lipedema literate medical providers. Okay, so that's going to be a huge help, because then we can look up, in Alberta, just who is there that knows something about this. So if you know a doctor that knows about lipedema, or therapists, so forth, tell Simone so she can add it to the directory. And so I'm going to say thank you very much.